Welcome to the Rewards Master. How many luxury credit cards should a person have? I mean, with everything to choose from, you got the Amex Platinum, you've got the Venture X card from Capital One, you've got the Reserve card from Chase Sapphire, and a whole slew of others if you include airline cards and hotel cards. Well, how many high annual fees should a person have? Well, hopefully we can kind of dig through this a little bit because I personally have a lot of these cards and I know a lot of you probably do as well. And you may wonder, is this smart? I mean, am I paying all these fees for nothing? Am I doubling up too much on my benefits? So stay tuned as we try to work through this, sift and find out when it's smart to have extra cards and when maybe we should cut some of them loose. One of the reasons this is a serious consideration is the crazy annual fees on what we call premium cards or luxury travel cards. Well, when you look at the American Express Platinum card or the American Express Business Platinum, you're talking about a $695 annual fee, almost $700. Then if you were to have that card and also have the Chase Sapphire Reserve card at $550, well, you add those two together, you're up in the $1,200, $1,300 range. And then if you add the Venture X at another $395, you got another $400 on top of that. Then if you add a premium airline card, I mean, they could range anywhere from $500 to $650. And then if you have a hotel card, maybe you have the Bonvoy Brilliant or you have the Hilton Aspire card, those cards can, they're in the $500 to $600 range, up to $650. Well, you add them all together, soon you're at $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000. And does that make a lot of sense? Well, part of the problem is first of all, the reason we have to evaluate these things is that sometimes you're doubling up on the same benefits. For instance, I think the greatest example is Priority Pass. I think I have 4 Priority Pass memberships. Now, that doesn't really do me a lot of good, except that maybe, in fact, this is just a new use case, but if you don't have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Chase Sapphire lounges will let you get in once with a Priority Pass membership. So I guess that someone could make the case that I can get in 4 times, but it ain't worth paying over $2,000 in annual fees just to be able to go into a Sapphire lounge 4 times. So that doubling up of some of those benefits, that's kind of a serious thing to consider. So those are 2 of the biggest problems is you have these humongous annual fees. So you can't just kind of justify it like you can, like hotel cards are a great example. They're usually $95 to $150 a year. You get a free annual room with them. And so when you get that free certificate for an annual room, you can kind of, okay, I'm paying $95, but I'm getting the room. Well, $95 and $695 or $550 or even $395, those are a big difference. And then when you're doubling up some of the same benefits, well, I mean, is that really beneficial? Does it make financial sense to keep all of those cards? And then you also got to consider that these cards, they don't just come in the particular flavor of transferable currency cards. Now, indeed, some of these cards, like when we talk about the Chase card, when we talk about the American Express Platinum, when we're talking about the Venture X, and one of the ones I have that you can't get now, but I'm kind of grandfathered in, is the Citi Prestige. So there's 4 of those. And, sometimes people have the US Bank Altitude Reserve. That's kind of a premier card as well. And they're all using their own transferable currencies. But that's not the only kind of high dollar luxury card. You've also got Delta's highest card, the Reserve card. It's over $600 a year now, but it gives you Delta Sky access and it gives you all sorts of benefits and kickbacks. And then you've got United has their club card that gets you in the United clubs. American has their World Elite MasterCard that gets you in the Admirals clubs. So you've got airline cards, but then you've got hotel cards. And those cards are like the Brilliant card that gives you, platinum status with Marriott, and then the Hilton Aspire gives you the highest diamond status with Hilton chain. And then you've got, so you've not just got one type of card, kind of adding to this mix is that if you wanted to have the highest level card for every single brand, well, you'd be up in the $5,000-$6,000 range. So when does it make sense? What ones does it make sense to pair together? And when should we consider to kind of drop some, cancel the cards, downgrade them to be able to justify having all of these high dollar cards? Well, I recently had to go through, as a new year, and I reevaluated all my cards, and I had to think strongly about this. So I just wanted to share some of the things that I came up with as far as how I'm trying to determine which ones to keep, which ones to cancel, which ones I should try to get in the future for my overall strategy that makes financial sense for me. Here at the Rewards Master, we cover all things points and miles. We talk about credit card rewards. We talk about restaurant rewards. We talk about how to level up your life with upgraded travel like first class and business class for less and upgraded hotel rooms. If those things are of interest to you, then please hit that like button and subscribe. That helps me to gain more listeners. This channel is just getting started, and I'd appreciate that greatly. Also, go over and check out our website, www.therewardmaster.com. So the first thing I think that is important is to be able to determine how much I really want to spend with all of my credit cards on net annual fees. Now, I said net annual fees for a reason, because, there's a lot of ways to figure how much a credit card is actually costing you. That kind of the famous one that you hear all over on YouTube is the Venture X card from Capital One, because people say it's got a positive $5 annual fee. They pay you $5. Well, that kind of depends on how you figure it, because yes, there's that $300 travel discount. I used to say travel credit, but they've changed it. Now it's a travel discount. I recently used it. It's easy to use, but you got to go through their portal, and it's really valuable at $300. And then they give you a 10,000 point bonus every anniversary, and that's good. And people say, well, that's worth at least $100. Well, if you're doing it right, then it's probably worth a lot more than $100. So is it really a plus $5? Well, I had to come up with my own system, and I believe that it makes a lot more sense to figure annual fees based upon the net annual fee after the actual rebates or the actual credits that you get back to your bank account, or to your cards, I should say, after you use those particular features. And then the other things, kind of figure those as bonuses or extra benefits. And so what I mean by that is, like, when I figure the Capital One, I figure my net annual fee is still $395, because Capital One is discounting a plane fare or a hotel room by $300, but I'm not charging that $300, and they're not giving me that $300 back. So I'm only deducting, because I'm trying to figure out exactly how much money is coming out of my bank account every year to pay these annual fees. And the only thing that changes that is when you get actual money back, because otherwise, when you're just buying a plane ticket or whatever, it's a great benefit. It's certainly an extra bonus, but it's not changing the actual dollars that are coming out of my account. It's just reducing what I'm paying for airfare on a particular trip or hotel on a particular trip. So you can figure it any way you want, but for me, the easiest way to figure it is I figure cards and my net annual fee based upon actual money going out minus the money they're giving back to me in actual credits. So that means that something like the Venture X, although overall I would consider that card well worth that $395, worth more than that $395, I still figure it as a net annual fee of $395. But a card like the American Express Gold Card, I only figure that as a net fee of $10, because I'm getting that $120 Grubhub credit and $120 Uber credit, and I use those every single month, and I track it. I've not missed a month, so I'm getting all that $240 back. So it's only costing me $10 actual money out every year. So you need to set a particular amount that you're willing to spend. The way I look at it is, this is my hobby, like it is for so many of you. And a lot of people have hobbies they spend a lot of money on. I mean, some people have, they like to fish, so they've got a boat payment, and other people like to golf, so they have spend a lot of money on green fees or whatever it may be. Well, I like credit cards, and I think it's fun, and I get a lot more benefit just than what I'm paying out. But I set a number in my budget. This is how much I'm willing to spend per year, and then break it out over 12 months per month on credit card fees. And then just make sure that all of your cards, after you figure out the net annual fee, are fitting under that budgeted number. The next thing I always try to look at with cards is what unique benefits does this offer me over some of the other cards that I have? So for instance, some of the cards will offer the exact same benefit. So I don't consider Priority Pass to be a benefit on all but one of my cards. And the one card I consider it a benefit on is the one that has the best Priority Pass benefit, which is my Citi card, my Citi Prestige, because it has the old-timey one that nobody seems to have anymore except the Chase Sapphire Reserve, where I get to use it at restaurants as well. So all the rest of my I have them set up, but I don't even, kind of consider that I have more than one Priority Pass because I don't get extra benefit from that. So you've got to look at those benefits. But when you're looking at some of these cards, you consider what do I get from this that I don't get from anything else? So like if you're looking at the American Express Platinum, you're certainly getting some access to lounges that you wouldn't get from any of your other cards. I have the American Airlines World Elite, and that one actually has kind of a high net annual fee, but I consider it worth it because it gives me benefit on my American status that I can't get with any others. So if you look at all of your cards, and then some of them, they just aren't jumping off the page as having any particularly unique benefits, then I'd say that's a card you need to get rid of. And then when you're looking for new cards, look for cards, say what card, first of all, is going to have a low net annual fee and fit into that budget that I've set, but that also is going to be a card that adds something fresh, something I'll use, something beneficial to me that I don't currently have in my setup. Now, the third thing that I think has to be considered is we have to ask ourselves the question, am I disciplined enough to get the benefit from this card? Some of the cards require quite a bit of work. I mean, like I said, the American Express Gold, you have to do it every single month. And if you don't, you lose it. I mean, you lose that $10 for that month. And so you've got to ask yourself and be honest, not, is this the kind of person I want to be, but am I actually the kind of person who's going to use the benefits? I mean, lounge access, I think, is a classic one because I actually fly quite a bit. I mean, I've looked and we used lounge access over 40 times last year. But there are people who only fly twice a year, and they maximum are going to use that lounge benefit maybe 6 times. And you got to ask yourself, is it really worth that fee to use it 6 times? And maybe it is for you, but I think that your own circumstances and your own level of discipline in regard to these things have to be factored in when you're determining, is this a good card for me or is it not? Is it worth the extra? Is it really luxury or not? Does it really benefit me if I'm not going to take advantage of the benefits that it gives? And that kind of leads us into the fourth thing, and that is it's important to track the benefits that you use. Now, I use a spreadsheet. It's kind of connected to my family budget. And when I go into a lounge, I put a little mark there under American Airlines Lounge or the Centurion Lounge or whatever, Priority Pass, whatever lounge I tend to use. And I keep track of that. So at the end of the year, I can look back and say, yeah, I used this lounge quite a bit. I didn't use this one very much at all. And that might help me to be able to evaluate. I keep track of, like, for instance, on my Citi Prestige, you get a 4th night free benefit if you book through their portal, which can be great. So I write down on my spreadsheet when I book a room and get that 4th night free, how much I saved, how much that night was worth. So I can go back and reevaluate. Because if you don't track this stuff, then you're just spending money and you don't really know how much benefit you're getting. So you don't know if you're winning the game or the banks are winning the game. And I think it's just so important to realize it is a game. And the banks, they're willing to give you all of these great benefits under the condition that you play a certain way. And they're banking on the fact that a lot of people won't, and there'll be a lot of breakage. And the only way you can win against that is you got to be disciplined and you've got to track it. You've got to keep track of and know what benefits you're using, and thereby what benefits you aren't, and what cards therefore are helping you, and also what cards really aren't. The last thing I really look at is what currency do a particular card open up to me, or which ones, if I were to close that card, am I going to lose? So there's a lot of currencies out there. All the airlines have their own currency, and some of them are better than others. American Airlines is a lot better than Delta, and United somewhere in between. And then, of course, all the foreign airlines have their own currency. All the hotels have their own currency. Again, Hyatt is a lot better than Hilton. And so when you look at those currencies, different cards will open up a currency world to you. And especially this is true when it comes to transferable currency cards. So for instance, you've got Chase, you've got their UR points, you've got MR points from American Express, you've got thank you points from Citi, you've got Capital One miles, and then you've got Bilt rewards. And maybe in the future, we're going to have Wells Fargo as well. But on all of those, they have different transfer partners. Some of them overlap, some of them don't. So you need to look at what you're hoping to accomplish, what your goals are. Are you wanting that aspirational travel to Bora Bora or to Taiwan or somewhere over into Europe or to Maldives, or what are you hoping to accomplish with that? And which transferable currencies will help you? I like to have a little bit, well, not really a little bit, quite a bit of all of the different currencies, so that no matter what comes up, I'm able to take advantage of it. But that might not be necessary for everybody. And so I think looking at the currencies and what your goals are and which ones can really help you will make a big, big difference. So how many luxury cards is the right amount? Well, I think the answer is different for every single person. I have quite a few, and my overall annual fees are pretty high, but my net annual fees, well, they're right there in what I have budgeted. So to me, my hobby is going strong. But when it comes to you, don't just get the newest, best card on the market. Now, you might want to get it for the sign-up bonus and then close it after a year. But even though I'm into sign-up bonuses and I've probably racked up more points that way than anyway else, I still like to think about cards as potential long-term keeper cards. So when you're considering what cards to keep in your setup, for the benefits, for the things that they can bring to your life, for which transferable currencies will meet your goals, then try to use some of these principles. I hope that they help you. Been great having you here. We'll see you here next time.